All right. Do one of you want to hit admit all? And then you can keep letting people in after that.
Horse was arrested.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. We're just letting folks in
That's
from
a,
the waiting room.
a little Swedish fish.
Glad you're joining us tonight, and we'll just ask everybody to keep themselves on mute while we're waiting and letting folks in. Folks can feel free to put your name, pronouns, and where you're joining us from tonight into the chat. And if you have a favorite winter activity keeping you busy right now, you can put that in the chat as well. For those just joining us, we'll get started in just a minute. We're just getting everybody in from the waiting room. And I see some intros in the chat. We've got Susan from the Main School Garden Network. Thanks for joining us tonight. Martha from North Yarmouth, and Anna and Marianne from Mount Vernon, Lucy and Ryan, Mary in Waterville. Folks can feel free to put your name and where you're joining us from and your favorite winter activity if you want. All right. Well, we've still got a few people coming in tonight into the room, but we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a very full agenda for our annual meeting tonight. And I just want to do a few housekeeping items. So I'm Sarah Alexander. I'm the Executive Director of MOFGA. I'm excited to be here with you all this evening. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to spend it with us. And tonight we just ask that everybody keep themselves on mute. We're going to have a few different speakers. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll have time at the end of the meeting for a town hall Q&A session. So feel free to put your questions in the chat. And if it's something, we can answer in the moment, we will. Otherwise, we'll hold them until we get to the Q&A section. And use your video if you're comfortable. It's nice to see many of your faces. It's second best to being able to connect in person, which we prefer to do, but it's nice to be able to connect and see you all on video this evening. And then tonight we're going to have a prize drawing at the end of the meeting for folks who stay on all the way until the end. We have a special prize for you, which is the 2026 50th Anniversary Common Ground Country Fair poster. And so, three lucky folks that stay on till the end, will do a random drawing and we'll send you this year's poster, and you can be one of the very first people to have it. It's gotten a lot of excitement, and we're going to show it a little bit later tonight. So next, I'm just going to share, as many of you know, many of you are probably calling in from Maine this evening, that MOFGA is headquartered in Unity, Maine, on about 300 acres, and we're situated in the unceded Wabanaki territory. And MOFGA has been working quite a lot over the last few years to really work to share our resources and build relationships with our Wabanaki community members and Wabanaki tribal food projects. And we're really excited and encouraged to continue growing those relationships and supports. And we've done that through the First Light Learning Journey. And there are some other resources that we're putting in the chat. We'll be putting resources in the chat throughout this evening, but we encourage folks to, continue to learn more about Wabanaki communities and connect if you're not already. And you can do that through Wabanaki Reach and through some of the other resources we're putting in the chat. I'm going to hand it over to Ellen Sabina to call the meeting to order.
Great. Welcome, everyone. So great to be here with you tonight. And as the current board president, I'm pleased to call this 2026 MOFGA annual meeting to order. Thanks, Sarah.
Great. So yes, this is the official annual meeting. We're now in session, and the official business of the annual meeting is to elect our incoming board slate. So we're going to do that here in a second. But again, if you're just joining us, if you've just come in from the waiting room, we ask folks to ask questions in the chat. Keep yourself on mute, but feel free to share your video and stay for the prize drawings at the end. So if you haven't already, now is your chance, and tonight is your last chance to vote for the 2026 incoming board slate. The voting will close tonight, and Mary has just put the link into the chat. If you haven't voted, you can click on that link right now and go ahead and fill out the Google form. And this year's board slate, many of them are on the call tonight. It's good to see many of you. So we have on the board slate these folks that are listed on the screen tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit more about them later, but you'll see them on the board slate. And the membership is also electing the officers. So the slate of officers incoming for 2026 are Margaret Hathaway as president, Yvonne Vasquez as vice president, Seth Crack as treasurer, and Abe Noyes as secretary. So again, please click on that link to vote if you haven't already, and tonight is your last chance to do that. I also want to share the link now, and Mary will put it in the chat that we are just releasing today our 2025 draft impact report, sort of MOFGA by the numbers. So if you click on that link, you can go to our website and take a closer look at that. But a lot of what we're talking about tonight, that's a nice little synopsis of how the year was and all of the great work that everybody at MOFGA and the MOFGA community did in 2025. Now I'm going to hand it over back to Ellen to share the current board president's report.
Thanks. Um, well, I think it feels like an understatement to say that 2025 was full of challenges, and I'm betting that we all felt that in different ways. And just like thinking back to this time last year, it's hard for me to even wrap my head around how much the landscape has shifted since then. And I think we experienced that we're not insulated. MOFGA is not insulated from the broader geopolitical climate. And our organization and our members have been directly and intimately impacted by all of the changes and confusion around federal programs and funding, and just the broader political and economic realities that we're living in. It's been a hard year. And at the same time, I think in this reality that we're living in, it's so clear that the work that MOFGA does and what we stand for are more important than ever, and actually offer sort of a hopeful antidote to so much of what feels like is unraveling right now. And I think this work to support farmers, to empower people to grow their own food and feed their communities, and to advocate at all levels for a healthy and fair organic future is so vital to our collective future, and so necessary right now. So looking back at the work of the board in 2025, we really had to focus on making sure that MOFGA has the resources we need to continue this work effectively. So this was a year that the board, in our fiduciary role for the organization, needed to take action to ensure that MOFGA could be financially sustainable. Over the last 5 years, MOFGA's been tracking a structural issue related to financial sustainability as our expenses increased and outpaced our income growth. And we made every effort to reduce the operational expenses and increase revenue, But this year, as the board and staff tracked the impacts of the loss of federal and other funding and modeled out our future budget projections, it just became really clear that we needed to make a change. And unfortunately, we made the difficult decision to restructure and reduced 6 staff positions to help ensure organizational sustainability. So yes, 2025 was a challenging one for MOFGA. And I want to thank the board for their leadership through that. And I especially want to thank the staff for all of the hard work through that difficult time. I know it hasn't been easy, and everyone has really risen to the compounding challenges to carry MOFGA's mission forward. And I think it's really a testament to MOFGA's amazing staff that, in spite of the federal and financial uncertainties this year, there's so much good work to celebrate too. Just a couple highlights that I think really exemplify MOFGA's impact and leadership this year were the rapid mobilization and advocacy in response to the federal funding freezes and cuts. It was really powerful to see our community in action, to see the first tractor brigade in Augusta, and just to see how much visibility MOFGA was able to bring to that issue. Another highlight was that we had record attendance at the Seed Swap and Scion Exchange this year and some other community events. We had another banner, Common Ground Country Fair. And I think all of that signals that there's so much appetite for learning how to grow food, and MOFGA really shines as the go-to resource for folks who are looking to gain those skills and connect with others around them. And finally, after a lot of good work and negotiation, we finalized the first collective bargaining agreement with MOFGA Workers United and are officially the first organic group and certifying organization to have a staff union. So there is a lot to celebrate this year, and you'll hear more about that later in the program too. But before we move on, I want to just take a moment to thank and recognize the board members who are stepping down this year. Ben Tettelbaum and Annie Watson have served out their final terms and have just been really invaluable and dedicated volunteers for MOFGA over their tenure. Anna Shapley Quinn, Sigwini Dana, and Cassie Waters Kimball are also stepping down this year to make time for other commitments. And while we're very sad to see them go, I know that they'll be incredible assets to everything they put their energy towards. So thank you all. This is also my final term as president of the board. And it's a role that felt, I think, intimidating to me at first, and has definitely been challenging in ways that I didn't anticipate. But I've really learned so much from my fellow board members, from Sarah, from Heather and Angela, and all the staff at MOFGA. And it's just been a real honor to volunteer in this capacity alongside such remarkable people. So thanks for the opportunity. And I think I'll pass the mic to one of those people, to our treasurer, Seth Crack, who's going to dig into the budget a little bit more with us.
Thanks, Ellen. And thanks to everybody for being here tonight. My name's Seth Crack. I'm a certified organic farmer, run Crystal Spring Farm in Brunswick, and have been serving on the board the last 3 years and for the last couple of years as the treasurer. As Ellen said, this year has been particularly challenging. We had a really generous amount of funding that has been fueling a lot of MOFGA's core programs and some of their programs towards the outside of that core for the past 5 years, and that's coming to an end, and we've known about that, and we've been preparing for that. But unfortunately, that also came together with all of the changes that we've seen in federal and private giving over the past year. So up on the screen are some of the grants that MOFGA lost in 2025, totaling a little over $540,000. And below that are some of the grants that are coming to an end in 2026. All the important work that MOFGA does, its connection to the community, its help for farmers, has been building over years and years and decades. When some of that funding goes away, we really have to take a hard look at what are the core programs, what's really most important to what we're doing. And that's what the work of the board, staff, and leadership have really been working hard on for several years, but especially in this past year, when it's been very hard. We've had to make really difficult decisions and had to look really closely at where we were able to get funding for particular programs and what programs are really, really core to the mission. And we really needed to find every way we could to keep going. And so, I really appreciate all the conversations that I personally have had with membership, all of you reaching out and saying that you're concerned and with questions. And I hope those conversations continue. The work that the board has done, the staff have done, and leadership have done is, it's really a community process. And it's been a conversation that all of us have been having, and we hope to continue to have as we really try and figure out the best way to keep ourselves going forward. That said, I'd like to say as treasurer that I really feel like the organization is on very solid footing. We've spent a lot of time looking ahead. And while we are going to be in the positive for 2026, we have a grant that's been going for the last 5 years that's coming to an end. So we still have funding for that. We are going to be running a deficit for the next few years, but the restructuring and other changes to our programs that we've made are going to allow us to bring MOFGA out of a few-year period and continue with these core programs and end up in a positive footing going ahead. So, as Ellen said, and I'll reiterate, it has been a very difficult year, but I think due to the leadership and a lot of work on everybody's part within MOFGA, we are going to come out stronger and continue going with our core mission. Here's a brief snapshot of where we are financially at the end of 2025 and looking ahead. You can see that we are challenged on a year-to-year basis, but that in the long run, the organization has a really solid foundation. And it's from that footing that we're really going to move forward and look ahead to keep MOFGA going on to the next challenge and the next great thing that we can do for the people of Maine and the farming community of Maine. So with that, I would hand it off to our incoming president, Margaret Hathaway.
Thanks, Seth. I'm Margaret Hathaway. I'm in my 4th year of service on the board, and I have been the chair of the governance and the nominating committees. And it gives me great pleasure to talk a little bit about our incoming board slate. We have depth and breadth of experience on this slate. We have people with skills that range from farming to finance to law to activism, all skills that we need right now for MOFGA in these times. We're really looking forward to having them join us as volunteers. Board service is not the only way you can volunteer with MOFGA, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there are many ways to engage, and we have here on the screen a link, which maybe someone can drop in the chat, of ways to volunteer with MOFGA. Now more than ever in these challenging times globally, it's important to go local, I think, and the more we can support each other, the better. moving moving on to Ellen, and a bunch of gratitude for you. It's humbling to try to step into this role after you. You have been such a steady and thoughtful leader for the last 2 years during a lot of challenges, and you have, in conjunction with incredible staff, led MOFGA to a period of stability and strength. And we are so grateful for your service. Thank you, and thank goodness you're staying on the board. That this is not the end of your service. This is just the end of your term as president. Um, Thank you. Just endless gratitude to you. Um, yeah, that deserves some claps. Yeah. Um, Finally, we have a lot of great things coming up this year. It's the 50th anniversary of the Common Ground Fair. We have this incredible poster, which some of you may receive if you stick around till the end. There are a lot of activities going on throughout the state to celebrate the fair, including but not limited to the 50, I think all 50 posters will be exhibited at the State House in Augusta in conjunction with the Maine Arts Commission. There will be an ongoing online auction of past MOFGA swag from the last 50 years starting in February. And there's just all kinds of good things ahead, I hope. You know, we're an organization of gardeners, and that means that we're all optimists. We are planting seeds now, and we will tend them with patience and hope, and trust that pretty soon they will flourish. So I look forward to attempting to follow Ellen's leadership, and thank you all for being here.
Great. Well, thank you, Margaret, Seth, and Ellen, for all you do as board members, and for all of our board members and incoming board members. We're truly grateful for your volunteer efforts and leadership, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you for all that you do. And I'm going to walk through some highlights from the last year of just, the incredible program work that our staff has been doing in coordination with many of you and many volunteers throughout our community. And I also just want to thank each of you as members. It really, truly is, especially in these difficult times and our difficult, financial situation. It is the members that make a difference for us. MOFGA has a very strong, robust membership, and we have for many years, and that speaks to the impact of the work that we do and the engagement with community and really what MOFGA can offer for everybody. So thank you, each of you who are members, who are on here tonight as members for the annual meeting, and for your ongoing and continued support. So this was the first full year, 2025, of our new strategic impact plan that we adopted last year. And so our strategic plan goal, just as a reminder, is to work to strengthen community resilience by encouraging more people to adopt organic farming and gardening. And that will lead to greater involvement from farmers, gardeners, policymakers, and community members in agriculture and gardening that supports the environment, meets local needs, boosts economic stability, and fosters opportunities for connection and well-being. And to do that, we'll secure the financial resources required to sustain our work, growing community resilience by educating, advocating, and building community through connection. So we spent all of 2024 writing this plan and adopted it at the end of 2024. We had no idea what was coming in 2025 on a larger level. But I think this strategic vision, we are crisis tested from the last 6+ years, from the pandemic, from the dairy crisis, from the PFAS crisis, from the climate crisis, everything that our farmers and our communities have been dealing with. We've been there every step of the way, and it was really that response that informed the strategic plan and has allowed us to be adaptable and meet the community needs in each moment that we're facing. So some of the education highlights from this year, we provided 169 technical assistance engagement with farmers. Over 70 of those were on farm visits, working with our farmer community to provide that direct technical assistance. We mentored 15 farms transitioning to organic production, and we're actually going to talk a lot more about that in the second half of the meeting. We have Daniella, Aldrich, and John Bliss on, who are going to share their stories as part of our transition to organic partnership program. And we're very excited for them to be here tonight. We supported 7 dairies to explore new feed production options and develop new business plans to continue to provide direct support to our dairy community when they're in a time of transition. We have a new sugaring operation, and we had lots of popular maple webinars and workshops, both on campus and online, and that was a real exciting highlight this year. We have new trails on campus to demonstrate the low impact forestry practices that we're practicing. We've done a lot to get the word out about organic dairy to consumers to help build that market for our local organic dairy producers. And as Ellen mentioned, we had the highest attendance that we've ever seen at Seed Swap and Scion Exchange and Great Maine Apple Day. And that really just speaks to the interest that folks have, in these moments of uncertainty to really lean into growing our own food, sharing the resources that we have, and working together. It was a robust year for our advocacy, and that really started with addressing the federal chaos. So we've already mentioned the tractor brigade. I know some of you were there. It was an incredible moment and really just shows the power of our farmers. When we center our farmer voices and the impact of farmers, I think we can make a big difference. We did pass-through grants of over $207,000 to farmers through some of the existing state and federal programs that we had grants for in 2025. And we distributed over $12,000 in Maine Harvest Bucks, which help consumers expand and double up their SNAP benefit dollars that they can spend directly with farmers. We certified 531 operations, expanding to 71,000 acres in Maine. And we tracked and weighed in on 33 bills at the state level. And that policy work, it was a long session, and there was a lot of work to defend the great victories that we've passed previously around PFAS and protecting our health. But we also advocated for new bills, including the Farm Worker Minimum Wage Bill, which was finally signed into law by Governor Mills, and advocating through the Farm Bill through various efforts and coalitions at the state, regional, and national levels. And of course, we're always advocating for strong organic standards and do that every year through the National Organic Standards Board. And we reintroduced with Senator Collins and Representative Pingree the Relief for Farmers Hit with PFAS Act just a month or so ago. So it's a relatively recent victory towards the end of the year. And we continue our fight to hold the EPA accountable. We appealed our lawsuit to hold them accountable for actually regulating PFAS in sewage sludge. So that legal work continues as well. And then connecting with each other. The highlights here were over 64,000 people at the Common Ground Country Fair. We had 3 beautiful days. It was a truly amazing event this year. It is every year, but it was really wonderful to be there with so many of you. And we had over 5,000 youth that were there as part of the school day on Friday. One of my favorite highlights of the Common Ground Country Fair is just how many young people are educated and participating on the Friday school day, and over 3,000 volunteers that helped this year. And I think it's on the impact plan that we put in the chat earlier, but I believe over 18,000 hours were tracked for volunteer hours for all of the shifts that go into making the fair happen, but also the year-round volunteering. So truly an incredible volunteer effort. We are planning a new Gardener to Gardener conference, and that started last year with our strategic planning. I hope you all will attend. It is going to be February 8th on Sunday in Portland, and it is coinciding at the same time with our Farmer to Farmer conference, which is going to be February 8th and 9th. And maybe somebody can put that information in the chat and encourage you all to check it out. I think it's going to be a really wonderful event, and this will be our very first Gardener to Gardener conference. We've had quite a few press mentions in 2025, a tremendous amount of work that we did around the federal turmoil and advocating on behalf of farmers, but continuing to really elevate all of the PFAS work as well. We had over 280 press hits during 2025, and that was an 8% increase from 2024 and a 20% increase from 2023. So MOFGA continues to be a trusted partner with sharing the broader stories of impact from our community. And we have over 79,000 people that open our weekly email bulletin every month. And hopefully you all get that. And every time I talk to somebody about it, they're always impressed when you look at the very bottom, just all of the events that are always going on. Be sure to scroll down so you don't miss anything, because there's always the upcoming list of everything that's happening at MOFGA. And our staff just does an incredible job of putting on really timely and relevant workshops that help people throughout the growing season. And we featured 149 farmers in our publications and our social media. So continuing to support and get the word out for our farming community. And it's MOFGA's team that makes it possible. And I'm incredibly grateful to get to work with all of these wonderful folks every day. Thank you to our staff and all they do. Thank you to all of the teams that are listed here on the screen. It's truly an incredible team effort, and I'm really honored to get to work with you all. So we're going to transition to the second half of our program here, which is focused on one specific project that MOFGA has been working on for a few years now, and this is the final year. And this was actually on the list of the federal grants that have been cut, which is the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. But this program has had such an incredible impact, and I think there are so many great stories to tell from it that we wanted to really focus on that this evening for the second half of our annual meeting, so that you all could get a chance to learn more about the benefits of this program. And I think even though, this program is, the federal funding for it is ending in September of 2026, we're hopeful that there could be other opportunities and iterations to continue this kind of work moving forward. And at the heart of the Transition to Organic Partnership Program is something that's core and near and dear to MOFGA's work and how we've always done our work for the last 55 years. And that is peer-to-peer learning and mentorship. So the program itself connects farmers that are transitioning to organic with mentors for at least 1 year, and it goes actually through organic certification if possible. And it's building paid mentoring networks to share practical insights and advice, and also honor people's time that they're putting into it, both for the mentee and the mentor. It provides community building opportunities that train the mentor, support with technical assistance and workshops and field days. It helps those transitioning producers overcome the technical, cultural, and financial shifts and any barriers that come up during and following organic certification. And it's a great way to educate our training institution. So actually, UMaine is a partner on this project as well, in this program. But it's a chance to do more workforce training and development and educate our broader community of service providers and educators about organic and organic certification and how it works and why it's important. And we're participating in that workforce development as well. This year, we're building out the very first cohort of certified organic inspectors mentorship. So building a mentorship to build more opportunities for folks to learn and engage about how to inspect organic farms as a career path. So to date, MOFGA has matched 35 mentors with farmers in the TOPP program, and we're piloting that inspector mentorship program in 2026. And we'll put some more information in the chat about that if folks are interested. I encourage you all to look into it, to share it far and wide, and to apply if you personally are interested. So I'm going to show a short video and fingers crossed this works and you guys can hear it. I'm going to press play and maybe somebody just give me a thumbs up and make sure that you can hear it. Can you hear it?
TOPP, the TOPP program,
No?
stands for
Yes.
Transition to Organic Partnership Program. It essentially facilitates the transition from conventional agriculture to organic production, but it's also really important for new growers who are just learning the ropes from scratch. TOPP is a region-wide program for the whole Northeast, and MOFGA is the implementer for Maine.
Dancing Harvest isn't certified organic, but thanks to the TOPP program, I'm in the process of getting all the records together and making sure that I can apply and have all that situated. I signed up for the TOPP program and I was quickly matched with a mentor, and we had conversations around our operations, our scales, our goals. From there, I visited Broadturn Farm and John visited Dancing Harvest. And all of last year, we were just checking in casually and formally and consistently.
When I first met Daniella and I was considering becoming her mentor, I was really struck by this piece of ground right here in South Portland. It's very unusual to have a production farm, albeit small, in this suburban or urban environment. And Daniella's enthusiasm was obviously a major impulse for me to help her out. She has a lot of energy, which is required in the job application to start a farm. The benefits to an incoming farmer of the TOPP program and mentorship in general is clarity on a pathway forward for business development as well as production experience. A lot of new farmers are kind of focused on production and they have lots of questions about where do I source my fertilizer, my soil amendments, my irrigation supplies, what's the cheapest and best way to ship it here. So those production questions are oftentimes at the top, but there are lots of other details that end up getting covered over the course of the mentorship. We talked a lot about markets and then just oftentimes how one is going to design their lifestyle around this business because it's not similar to a lot of other professions.
I think something I wasn't expecting from the mentorship that has been wonderful is kind of this holistic approach to organic. How do you communicate your organic ethos to your customers, and how do you have that relationship to the community that you grow product for, and how do you communicate your practices to employees and other shareholders of the farm? And that has been a really wonderful benefit to the mentorship.
I'm involved as a mentor in this program because it's a source of inspiration to me. I know how hard it is to crack into a farm career. And if I can facilitate someone else's entry into that world, I get to see and experience through them that inspiration and be part of their journey, be part of their struggle and success.
Great. Well, we're really excited to have John and Daniela join us tonight, and I'm actually going to stop my screen share so we can spotlight them and see them a little more easier here. Let's see. Get to Daniela. All right. John and Daniela, thank you for joining us this evening. We're very excited to have you here, and it was great to see you in the video. And I'm gonna ask you some questions, and I'll encourage folks if they have questions for you that they put them in the chat, and we'll get to those as well in a few minutes. But I'd love to just hear briefly from both of you a little bit more, get to know you each a little bit better about what inspired you to get into farming. And John, let's start with you.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everybody. Um, Started farming, about 22, 23 years ago, in Cumberland, Maine, which is a suburban town, and I remain a suburban kid. We're in Scarborough right now. And I think the vision was sustainability and self-sufficiency, really similar to the core ethic that MOFGA was founded on. I wasn't exactly focused on big production. I really just wanted to have a lifestyle that supported my immediate community and introduced people to delicious and interesting and healthy food and made a positive impact while producing food. So that was that was a while back, and my vision has shifted over the years and my goals have changed somewhat, but that ethic still remains.
Great.
Daniela?
Yeah, Daniela.
Great. Hi, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. I started farming in college. I found farming. I was studying environmental studies at Dickinson College in Pennsylvania, and the college also it has a really cool vegetable farm, and has livestock as well. And I started volunteering there my first year of school, and every year I just spent more and more time there. And then it got to be my senior year, and I knew I wanted to continue farming afterwards. And what struck me the quickest, I think, was just being outside and the physicality of the work. I really loved all of the work that we had to do. And I loved being with other people who loved farming. I loved being around the farmers that were running the farm and that I was working with. So, and then it's kind of grown from there.
Yeah, and what brought you to Maine, Daniela?
Land. Yeah, I kind of worked my way north from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Maine.
Great. And so you're in the beginning of your, farming career as a beginning farmer, and I know you're part of our Journey Person program as well. But I'd love to start out with just hearing a little bit more about what inspired you to apply and be a part of the Transition to Organic Partnership program.
Yeah, well, growing organically has always been important to me. It's also how I was taught to farm from the beginning. I think all the farms I've worked on have been, if not certified organic, growing organically. And so that has always been a really big part of my learning and my development as a farmer. And then I was really inspired to apply for the TOPP program moving to Maine because it coincided with my first year growing in Maine. And so I had this blank piece of land that I lease, and I thought, okay, I need some like real direction here. And the mentorship aspect of it was really attractive to me. And it has been wonderful to have a mentor in John.
Great. And John, what inspired you to be a mentor through this program?
Well, I myself was a mentee in my first several years farming, and I really needed it because I knew virtually nothing about growing at all or running a business. I was really, really naive and ignorant. I didn't know anything. And so Don Beckwith took me under his wing back in 2002 and three, and probably kept on for a few years after that. And I really valued that relationship. I could call him anytime, and uh, he didn't uh, he didn't shy away from telling me all the difficulties and the cuts and bruises that you get along the way, including really challenging things like land access and engaging with family members who, in his situation, sharing land and like really difficult issues that really were helpful going forward because, in the first several years of starting a farm, oftentimes land access is a big part of it. So, so yeah, I had that experience myself. I think I was the first cohort of the JP program. Um, and maybe 10 years into my farming career, I started to do mentorship, mentoring new farmers myself. And yeah, I got so much out of it. Just really enjoyed connecting with growers and having one-on-one conversations, really practical problem solving. And at the core, I think that's what I love about farming the most. It's the problem solving in a practical, hands-on way. Um, so yeah, and peer-to-peer learning is definitely how this movement has grown over the years. I, there's a lot of isolation that can happen on a farm, and so we need to always lean into the relationships with other farmers, old farmers and new farmers, everybody.
Yeah, it's been definitely a core of MOFGA's programs, really since the start, is that peer-to-peer learning and mentorship and connection. And Daniela, as you've been getting started on your farm and you're a couple seasons in now, I think, I would just love to hear what has been helpful to you from this mentorship. What kinds of things, what kinds of problems are you trying to solve, and what kinds of things has this mentorship opportunity helped you with?
Yeah, well, to echo everything John was saying, like the really basic problem solving of where to source certified organic fertilizer or a certain input. I remember John really helped me with where would be best to put the high tunnels on the field, um, as well as, yeah, how can I have a sustainable lease? Which he was crucial in helping me with as well. And so that whole range has been incredibly wonderful and made possible through this peer-to-peer mentorship program. And now I feeling as I am applying for certification this year, I anticipate asking him more questions about like the actual, forms, filling those in. But yeah, and like what John was saying about fomenting relationships and not feeling isolated when I'm trying to like break into a new piece of land and a new market has been incredibly valuable and something I really appreciate. It has made it more enjoyable too.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, Daniela, you mentioned applying for organic certification this year, and that, of course, is part of the opportunity with this program too, is to get help and support with that. And I'd just love to hear from you, why you're going to take that step and how you are hoping that that's going to help your farm as well, getting certified organic.
Yeah, I think and John was reminding me of this the other day. When we were talking about it, the three of us, of Portland's a really saturated market, and I'm here in South Portland. That I think that'll be a great way to, just an extra layer of like differentiating in a saturated market. And I think it's a good starting point to talk with people about the farm, like, oh, people recognize MOFGA certified. So I think that that is something that is hugely valuable that every year I see the value in it more and more. And so I'm excited for that for sure.
Great. And John, I'm curious about both any themes that have come up during your time as a mentor, and what you would say to other farmers who are considering being mentors.
I was just remembering, the first couple of times that Don Beckwith visited me on my field years ago, and he just really shook his head and he was like, "Oh boy, you got a lot of work ahead of you. This is gonna be tough. Like those weeds right there, it was a disaster kind of." Um, and to be honest, like the first time I visited Daniella, I was like, "Okay, this is a nice piece of ground and it's a great market, but ooh, you got a lot of work ahead of you." And you know, um, she pulled it off like so amazingly well that it was humbling to me, and I hope that's the way Dawn felt. Like, you find someone that has the real tenacious and inspired drive to get into this difficult work, and you're going to be really gratified by what you see. So, yeah, I think, like I said in the video, it's just like it's a source of inspiration. Uh, Mentoring is, well, any kind of teaching, you always end up, learning so much more yourself as you are working through the problems, because it's not just like show and tell, just like showing someone how to do something. You're actually processing the question to the point of getting the answer. And oftentimes that's a dialogue, that's a back and forth where both of you are growing. So, um, yeah, I've done a good handful of mentorships over the years, and currently Danielle is one of two farmers that I'm working with.
Great. And I'll give a little opportunity here to all of our participants this evening. If you have questions for John or Daniela, or any questions, if you want to put them in the chat, now is the time. We're going to transition to the last little section here of our meeting tonight, as we wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so. But Daniela, my last question for you is just what would you say to somebody else who's thinking of starting an organic farm?
Um, I would say go for it and find some mentors. Um, yeah, it's, I think it would be really, really hard to keep going without mentorship like John's. And and I think that yeah, I wouldn't overlook that for people starting organic farms.
Yeah. Are there any questions that you want to ask each other? Anything you want to share?
I had a question for you, John. I'm curious if or how Broadturn Farm, how how it is today, is different from what you envisioned when you were starting out, or if it's the same, if it's just how you envisioned it 20 years ago.
Different. It's very, very different. Um, we grow flowers primarily these days, and yeah, I don't think I would have pinned myself as a flower farmer back then. Over the course of my career, I think I've run through a lot of different types of operations, and that's pretty typical with small scale farmers. Tried my hand at livestock um, and some grain crops and vegetable crops of all kinds of different marketing schemes. Like really tried a lot of different things. So it's even hard to draw a straight line where I left the station and I arrived at Broadturn, it's been a lot of winding roads and forking paths. Um, and yeah, that's life. I do catch myself sometimes uh, out in the corner of the field on the tractor, just with a big spread out in front of me, and just like filled with wonderment of like how lucky we are and how like how this all came to pass. It's just like there's a lot of gratitude to go around, and I feel humbled to do that. So yeah, don't expect things to stay the same for your place. I'm sure it's gonna evolve as well. Um, so let me turn that around to you. Maybe I'll just ask, what's the next 5 years look like?
Mm, the next 5 years, hopefully it's on the same piece of land. I've got a 10-year lease. Huge thanks in part to you. And yeah, next 5 years, right now, I sell like 80%, 90% of my produce through a CSA. And I'm hoping that maybe I can keep growing the wholesale operation and kind of maybe build out more um, open to the public farm stand-esque since we're right there on Highland Avenue. Um, but yeah, hopefully on the same piece of land, vegetables, maybe more flowers, and with a 5-year-old
Yeah.
running around the farm, maybe.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna mention there's a 5 or 6 year
Yes,
old running
yes,
around in that region.
I'm not pregnant anymore, like in the video. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you both for sharing your incredible stories tonight. And yeah, we really it's been helpful to hear and learn more about the Transition to Organic Partnership Program and both of your journeys. And I encourage both of you, if you have, your farm site you want to put in the chat for folks, to feel free to share that so they can check you out and folks can go hopefully see the farm stand this summer, Daniella's farm stand. Um, and of course, Broadturn Farm as well. So, yeah, thank you both for everything. We are coming up on the end of our conversation together tonight, and let's see if I can just get us back to the full screen of the videos. Um, because next we're going to share our winners. For the folks that have stayed on here through the end, we have the beautiful fair poster. I'll put it up on the screen one more time so you can see the beautiful uh, sheepdog that's on the poster this year for the 50th Common Ground Country Fair. We're very excited. It's the first time that the sheepdogs have ever been highlighted on the fair posters, and I know it's a perennial favorite. I hear about it every year that it's a highlight for folks at the fair to get to see the sheepdog demonstrations. So we're really excited to have this represent the educational aspects of the fair for this year. And I believe Marvis has been working some magic in the background to do a random drawing. So, Marvis, would you like to announce our winners or put them in the chat? Oh, we got them in the chat already.
Yeah, I just put them in. Yep.
Amazing. So, Hadley Gitto, John Belding, and Lori Berkeley are our winners tonight. So thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you spending your evening with us. We'll be following up with the folks that won the posters to make sure we have the correct address for you and can get that mailed out to you so you can get that up and enjoy it. Well, thank you all for being members and being here tonight, and we look forward to seeing you all at an event coming up soon. Bye, everybody.
Sarah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.